Well, good afternoon. This is Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. It's October 21st, Monday, 2024, and we have some more weather to talk about. This update is being provided to the All Hazards Consortium Sensitive Information Sharing Environment, where we share information across platforms so we can keep everybody on the same page at the same time using GeoCollaborate and other technologies as well. This update is being provided on the tropics mostly, but we have a couple of other things I'm going to talk about as well. You can take a look at what's going on. Well, we have Tropical Storm Oscar. Oscar is right here on the eastern tip of Cuba. Made landfall yesterday around 5:50 p.m. Eastern time, and it is just meandering. So we're going to dive into Oscar just for a moment. And remember Nadine? Nadine formed on Saturday, made landfall in Belize on Saturday. During the day Sunday, came out, emerged over the Pacific, and look at that. Look at that. If that doesn't look like a developing tropical storm or a hurricane, boy, conditions have really come together to refuel this hurricane. And it looks to me like any time they'll be announcing tropical storm or tropical depression in the Pacific Ocean. If it's a tropical storm, I think it will be Kristi, not Nadine, because it didn't keep its name going across Central America and down into the Pacific. So it'll get a new name. This one is Kristi, and it looks even more formidable than Nadine did. The good news is it looks like Kristi is going to be headed just out into the Pacific Ocean. It'll be a menace for any ships that are out there, but certainly a lessening threat for the coastline. Here, I'll take this full screen so we can talk about this a little bit, and I'll center this up. You can see I have the sea surface temperature data turned on as well. This is a really good product from the GOES satellites and also the NOAA polar orbiting satellites that orbit from pole to pole, lower Earth orbiters than the GOES satellite. That orbits at 22,300 miles up. The polar orbiters are more like 300 miles up, and they can take retrievals and readings of the sea surface temperatures and kind of merge this together into one comprehensive sea surface temperature product. And look how cold it gets off the coast of California here. There you go. You can see the sunrise happening headed towards Hawaii. But down towards where the tropical systems are forming, you can see it's plenty warm. Temperatures are in the 80s there. And I think this is going to be Kristi any minute. We have a 2 o'clock update coming from the National Hurricane Center, and we'll check it at the end here before I wrap up this video if we indeed have Tropical Storm Kristi. But all eyes have been on this little tiny surprise, which happened on Saturday. This was that low pressure system that we followed all the way across the Atlantic, and we said, oh, it's got a great little low level circulation. Doesn't look like it has much atmospheric support. And then boom, on Saturday, developed into a tropical storm quickly. Saturday at 11 o'clock, Oscar had 40 mile per hour winds, 11 o'clock in the morning. By 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'll zoom in here a little bit more into Oscar. By 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, winds were 70 miles per hour, and the Hurricane Hunter aircraft from the Air Force was flying through it and said, hey, hold on here. We have 80 mile per hour winds that we're finding. And so it was made a hurricane, had 80 mile per hour winds, made landfall here in the southwestern Bahamas, and then made landfall last night on the northeastern tip of Cuba. This is Guantanamo province right here. And so that's what's going on. Let me take it a little bit closer here as we look at the GOES East mesoscale sector. And I turned on the lightning data as well. That's another thing this GOES satellite has. From 22,300 miles up, we can monitor lightning activity in any of these clouds. It's really tremendous. It's called the Global Lightning Mapper. and it has really advanced our ability to monitor lightning in not only tropical systems, but severe weather systems in the Midwest and elsewhere as well. But you can see Cuba right here. Here's the tip of Cuba, and it looks like the storm is down here, doesn't it? It looks like it's down here back in the Caribbean, but no, the center of circulation is right here over Cuba. It's still over land. 40-mile-per-hour winds is what Oscar has. That may be maintained. It may be knocked down below that, but I think the Hurricane Center will probably keep it at 40 miles per hour right now because it will be emerging tonight or tomorrow back into the Atlantic Ocean. And then it will be caught up in some strong winds. But if I back out here a little bit, you can see this sector is a smaller sector, but it is imagery every 1 minute. So you can see a lot of severe storms that are over the Caribbean Sea right here. And here's the western tip of Hispaniola, right around in here. And then there's some more thunderstorms approaching more of the Bahama Islands here from the outer bands of Oscar. Now, the storm is expanding just a little bit, but I'm going to show you in GeoCollaborate just what the wind field looks like as well for Oscar, and it is really tiny. Let me take you over there right now. So here's GeoCollaborate. This is where we work with a lot of the data. It's very exciting to be able to bring in all different types of data into GeoCollaborate and then visualize it. But here's what we have. You can see the path that Oscar took. Came over the Turks and Caicos as a hurricane, Category 1 hurricane, and then came down and also made landfall here in the southwestern Bahamas. And then it made landfall right here on the eastern tip of Cuba. Here's Guantanamo Bay, where the U.S. has a base right here. So they're getting gusty winds. Some heavy rains. It looks like the last rainfall measurements that I did on eastern tip of Cuba, anywhere from about 3 inches of rain in the southwestern part here of the wind field to 10 inches of rain inland. And there are mountains in here. So whenever the winds circulate around a tropical system, hit the mountains and go up, it enhances that rainfall, makes it more intense, and then you can get landslides, mudslides, all that sort of stuff. But just look at how small the wind field is. This is the tropical storm force wind field for Tropical Storm Oscar. And these are the updates. You can see how slowly it's moving, but it is forecast to reemerge as a tropical storm, and that is tonight by 8 p.m., emerging as a tropical storm with 40-mile-per-hour winds. So my guess is the Hurricane Center will maintain the 40-mile-per-hour winds here, and then it's forecast to move towards the north and then the northeast, which is why we have tropical storm warnings issued once again for Inagua Island, and that is right here where it made landfall once. So tropical storm warnings reissued for Inagua Island, and also up here in these parts of the Bahama Islands. So if we get a little bit closer here, you can see the Bahamas are quite vulnerable to storms, and particularly this one coming from the southwest. You can see this shallow area here inside. So there'll be perhaps some storm surges in these areas for some of these Bahama Islands. And then there are tropical storm watches that extend they don't go as far as Nassau. Here's Nassau right here in the Bahamas, but over a little bit further down to the southeast, there are tropical storm watches. These are watches. That means the chance for tropical storm force winds exists over the next 24 to 48 hours. And here is a drifting buoy right here. Looks like it might be touching the island a little bit. Sea surface temperature 84.1 degrees, and we can see timestamps of the sea surface temperature as well as it's been moving along. So it's very close to the islands here in the Bahamas, and also a couple of ships out there that are reporting some data. Well, I'm backing out here just so you can see what else is going on. That's what Oscar looks like it's going to do. So the other thing I wanted to point out, remember, we showed the other day, we showed the power, and the power situation in Cuba. So let me take you back and show you that quickly as well. So this is a satellite picture of Cuba. You can see Havana right here. And it looks like we get a little bit closer in here. Havana has some lights. When you have cloudy skies, it's really difficult to see through the clouds and see who has electricity where the lights are or not. And it looks like there are some other towns on the northern coast of Cuba that also have some electricity back. So it looks like some power is coming back to the island nation of Cuba in spurious locations, because you can see the rest of the island excuse me, not much power at all. So let's go over here. I'll back out just a little bit, make it a little easier to see. We'll back out and move to the east along the island here. And it looks like there is no power still in many of these areas in the island. Now, as we get closer to where a tropical storm Oscar is spinning over the land, this satellite image was taken overnight last night. You can see how the clouds kind of mask out our ability to look down to the ground and see if there's any power. And here's some, you can sort of see some bumps in the clouds here. They're thunderstorms. But down here in Guantanamo Bay, the base has power, so everything is good there. The U.S. provides its own power for its base. Everybody's good there. Heard from somebody there yesterday saying we have power and everything's good. So that's great news. Now, as I back out here, you can see the configuration of the tropical storm as it's making landfall. And look, Puerto Rico, plenty of lights, plenty of power. Also, Dominican Republic, plenty of power. Haiti has power as well. So it's really fascinating. We can use satellites to detect. Remember, we can see lightning from the GOES satellite. And from the polar orbiting satellites, we can see who has power and who doesn't. Really fascinating capability from these satellites. Okay, well, now what I want to do is I want to go back to GeoCollaborate because I'm just going to take a quick look. And you see I have all the buoys and the global observing systems turned on. That's because I want to focus just for a moment on Florida, Eastern Florida. They have had these coastal marine advisories out for the better part of a week, ever since Milton passed across Florida and went out to sea. We've had a big high pressure system that has built in. And that high pressure system, not only, it gives us great weather, but it has created a long fetch of northeasterly winds for many, many days. And that's what's going on here in Florida. Look at this. These are all rip current advisories that exist around the entire east coast of Florida because of these winds that are coming in. As a matter of fact, I have some video that I want to show you, and that is of Daytona Beach. So take a look. This was just moments ago in Daytona Beach. And you can see look at the showers there in the distance, rain falling from the clouds. But look at all that white water. As we pan around a little bit, those waves have been coming in consistently for at least 6 to 7 days now and creating flood advisories. This video is in Daytona Beach, and I'm going to zoom down into Daytona Beach here a little bit. Here's Daytona Beach, right where my cursor is, and you can see that there's a buoy just off the coast. I'm going to click on that, and so it figures no data coming from that particular buoy, but I'm going to zoom down, go down to the south a little bit, just off of Cape Kennedy and Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, Space Force Station, and the waves out there, no wave measurement on this one, but the winds are gusting to 17.5 knots. Let me back out just a little bit as we look at that video in Daytona Beach. Here's another one up to the north. Look at that wave height, 6 feet, significant wave height, 6-foot waves coming in every 10 seconds. So this is causing some coastal flooding. It's causing erosion of the beach. There are coastal flood warnings that have been issued. And these coastal flood warnings will continue at least through Wednesday. even up towards Jacksonville and towards the Georgia border. These wave heights, 5.2 feet. Significant wave heights. Look at that, 5.2 feet. That's pretty incredible. And so when you have that persistent wind coming in from the northeast, we are going to have impacts. So all the way from southeastern Georgia through the entire east coast of Florida, there could be structures getting impacted by these waves. And when it becomes high tide, plus we had the king tide with the full moon. So I think we're going to see some pictures or video along the east coast of Florida of some damage from these persistent winds. Now, the other thing that I'd like to do is to show you the winds themselves. And this is a visualization of the winds coming in from the northeast. You see this coming in from the northeast. And this is about what it's been for the last 5 to 6 days. When you constantly push water, that much water over the Atlantic towards the east coast of Florida, you're going to get beach erosion and coastal flooding. And that is going to continue now for quite a while. And so if I go back here, I'm going to zoom out a little bit because we have a lot of stuff going on. Look at all those buoys. I'm just gonna keep that on there because I want to go up to Alaska for a minute and just mention that there is a big time storm that is coming into Alaska, and it's creating quite a bit of action, not just coastal erosion, but coastal flood watches and warnings in effect, gale warnings in effect because of the strong winds. And all these inland advisories too. These orange ones, high wind warnings that are in effect, and inland winter storm warnings throughout Alaska. As a matter of fact, Fairbanks, let me just dive into Fairbanks here. Fairbanks has a winter storm warning, and it looks like they could get anywhere from 10 to 15 inches of snow with this big storm coming in. And so the GOES satellite that watches over over the middle part of the United States and down across, well, the Western Hemisphere, doesn't see the clouds very well over Alaska because they're over the limb, over the curve of the Earth. But fortunately, remember I mentioned polar orbiting satellites. We can take a look at that imagery because they orbit from pole to pole around the sphere of the Earth, and we can show what that satellite loop looks like. And here it is. This is a sequence of satellite images from the polar orbiting satellites that NOAA has. And you can see, the strip of the data moves around the Earth as it orbits. So you can see that moving around. But we can see these clouds are bringing in that incredible weather throughout Alaska. A lot of snow, a lot of coastal erosion, and there's a lot of vulnerability there. You can see the center of the storm right in here. See it spinning right there. And that long stream of moisture coming right in to Alaska is going to give them a lot of issues to deal with. Even down towards the south, coastal flood warnings in effect down in this area. And even for Anchorage, gale warnings in effect. They have gale warnings right now. I'll take it back to GeoCollaborate just to show you what I'm looking at. Here is Anchorage, Alaska here. And here is the Cook Inlet, which is just fascinating itself with their bore tide. That's amazing. But they're having gale warnings and just outside winter weather advisories. So winter is here in Alaska and they're getting a major, major storm. So there we have it. Kind of a little tour up towards Alaska. Really started with a tropical update, but we do have significant impacts from weather in Alaska today over the next couple of days. So there you have it. I think we're going to see Kristi during the day today, and Oscar we're going to see take a turn and emerge off the Cuban coast by this evening, and then become just a dying tropical storm as it moves across part of the central Bahamas and into the Atlantic Ocean. So that's it for today's update. I'm Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. Thanks so much for watching, and please take care of yourself and watch out for your neighbors.